Minnewacan, Dakota people. Minnewacan means dwellers of the Spirit Lake. Our first agenda item is the roll call. Okay. 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 Our first item on the agenda is our roll call.
Eric Tessmer,
Here.
Louise Hines,
Here.
Pat Driscoll, here. Simi Petnaik, here. Melinda Doles, here. Katie Schwartz,
Here.
Sharon Van Leer.
Here. Our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please rise? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? It has been moved and seconded, moved by Pat and seconded by Melinda. All those that approve the agenda say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. The next item on our agenda will be public comment. At this time, individuals who signed up may speak to the school board on any item relating to South Washington County. everyone for coming and speaking your truth, as I would say. We've heard you, and the responses that we have received will be answered by our superintendent. Again, thank you, and thank you to the children for coming out tonight. Next is 5.0, the district ambassadors, and those students will be returning to our May meeting with updates. As we move along, we have 6.0, our consent agenda items. All consent agenda items are considered routine and non-controversial by the school board and will be approved by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to this meeting. Board members have had an opportunity to review each of these items and may request that any item be moved to an action item for individual consideration. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
Katie and Louise? All those in favor by the sign of aye? All those opposed? Motion carried. 8.0 are our action items. 8.1 is the approval of the long-range facility plan presented by Christine Schaefer, Assistant Superintendent.
Good evening, School Board Chair Van Leer, school board members, Superintendent Nielsen. I am here tonight to present the final long-range facility package for our school district. First, I want to thank you, the board, and our facility task force for helping us get to this one final package. Tonight, I will review that final package with you and ask for your approval at the end of the presentation. So before we get started, let's look at our timeline and some background of the process. So many times as a school district, when we take on large projects like this, we get feedback that we've either gone too fast or we've gone too slow. We do take that into consideration, and we have worked through the process to engage community members, staff, throughout the entire process to make the best decision we can with the data that we have. So let's start with our timeline and some background about the long-range facility process itself. So if we remember, back one more. All right, so this process started in 2015. Voters approved one bond question that built Altman Middle School, and that opened in the fall of 2018. The second bond question at that time was not approved and would have provided additions and improvements to existing high schools and upgrades to several of our elementary schools. Since 2015, the need for improvements and upgrades has increased along with growth in our community. October 2018, the school board approved the creation of a long-range facility planning process to identify enrollment projections, building capacity calculations, community growth plans, and collection of data. Also in October of 2018, a steering committee was created of administrators to gather input from stakeholders. From August to 2019, a steering committee reviewed and collected data. June to September of 2019, the facility staff consulted with principals, department leaders, program providers, and other stakeholders to determine facility needs for student learning. August of 2019, a task force was created of staff and community members, 35+ people, to review enrollment projections, building capacity calculations, and community growth plans, and give input to construction options. February 2020, focus groups were held with district advisory groups, school staff, and city decision makers to review construction options. Those advisory groups were held with lots of parents and community members in our district. Also, February 2020, school construction options were finalized for the community to review. And as we all know, March of 2020, COVID-19 put the entire process on hold for an entire year. At that time, we had community information sessions scheduled, and those were canceled. So now we fast forward a year to March of 2021. The leadership and steering committees began to regroup and review the new data and plans from the previous facility planning process. We looked at community growth, and that continued throughout the pandemic. The growth continued. March to September 2021, our facility staff consulted again with principals, department leaders, program providers, and other stakeholders to determine facility needs for learning. March through September, our facility staff consulted with our cities to review the latest residential building data and projected housing developments. November of 2021, this school board approved a guiding change document that guides this whole facility plan. In November of this school year, the long-range facility team updated this school board with current and projected enrollment data and housing developments. Also in November, the original task force members, the staff and community members that were on it a year ago, reconvened, and we reviewed the enrollment projections with them. December, the design team and leadership committee revised the previous plans to accommodate this ongoing growth and new facility and student needs. January of this year, 3 working options were created. Enrollment data and timelines were shared with the school board and the original task force for feedback. And if you remember at those January meetings, we took questions, answered questions, gathered feedback from all of you with those 3 options. February of this year, we narrowed down those 3 options to 2, based on feedback we had gotten from advisory groups and community members, staff, and the school board. And we did activities with you as a school board during those times too, to look at those 2 options. In March of this year, we presented 1 facility package using the feedback we received. We gathered additional feedback from the community in staff information sessions and our advisory groups and our task force during that March meeting, those March meetings as well. April 7th isn't on here, but April 7th was our last workshop meeting where we presented to you the final package for approval, and we talked through, answered questions, talked through all those details, and we are here tonight to ask for final approval of that 1 facility package. So this again is our guiding change document that was approved in November of 2019. These are the reality, the results, and the means that guide our work with this long-range facility process. And again, our goals. So the goals approved by the board for that long-range facility process are the following items. We will address enrollment increases from new home construction or changing of boundaries, modernization of classroom space, needed renovations, bathrooms, kitchens, cafeterias, curriculum or instructional delivery methods, our transportation facility needs, our alternative high school space, our operational facility needs, early learning programming, special education programming, and how buildings will be repurposed. In addition to creating a funding plan to address this 10-year facility plan, which includes bonding, lease levies, and long-term facility maintenance, and ultimately creation of learning spaces that support college and career-ready students by providing flexible, adaptive spaces, environments that inspire social interactions, diverse instructional styles, and accommodate multiple forms of collaboration. All right, so again, this, what we're presenting is 1 entire facility package, which includes any construction, boundary changes, building changes. This is a 10-year plan as approved by the school board to address the needs in the next 10 years. The year 2025, fall of 2025, is the earliest that any changes would take place with school movement, boundaries, programming changes, fall of 2025. And the data that we are using to guide this facility package, we project in the next 10 years, 8,000 new homes in our school district, 3,500 new students, and 15 of our schools being over capacity, which we know that equates to 2,500, will be short 2,500 seats K-12. Again, 2025 is the earliest, the fall of 2025, that any movement would happen. So now let's take a look at some of the challenges in our schools that we would like to address through this plan. This building. Our teaching and learning staff work in a converted warehouse space in the back. So they, as you can see, the ceilings, there's no carpet. We put up makeshift spaces for them because there is not enough office space here at the district office. They are back in the warehouse. This is Pine Hill Elementary. They turned a storage closet into an occupational therapy space. And we will see throughout our schools that are full, because several of our schools are full now. Several of our schools use closets to create office space. This is Woodbury High School. This is the cafeteria. As you can see, an overcrowded cafeteria, students eating on the floor or anywhere else throughout where they can find space around the cafeteria. This is our next step in pathway, 18 to 20-year-old special education program. Currently, there are about 90 or 95 students in this program, and they are separated into 2 strip malls. These are the 2 strip malls that they are in. With this plan, we would like to bring them together into one space so they have adequate space to meet their needs and their education. This is our alternative high school, and we show this because this is the only grass they have, or yard. They have a parking lot. And so we know that we need more space for the alternative high school students. This is East Ridge High School during passing time. So when we talk with our students, our high school students, their biggest concern is how crowded it is during passing time and in the cafeteria. A lot of times it's hard to get to their classes, but this is what passing time looks like, and on the far right is a classroom. This is Park High School at dismissal time. And so if you've ever been there during dismissal time, the cars line up down 80th, creating congestion. And so we know we need to do something different with Park High School's parking. This is Pine Hill Elementary School, and Pine Hill Elementary School is one of the 60s buildings that all have the same layout. So if I'm standing in the corner here, there's 2 hallways and no collaboration space, so all the classrooms are off these 2 hallways, and these 2 bathrooms you see in the middle is the only 2 bathrooms, a boy and a girl's bathroom, for all the students in the school. So we know we need more bathrooms for students and collaboration space for students in schools, the 60 schools such as Pine Hill. This is Gray Cloud Elementary. This is a collaboration space that Gray Cloud Elementary has. It's one of the newer schools. So all of these students in here, this is not a classroom. This is a space in between all of the 5th grade classrooms that they can come out and work with other students, work with teachers, collaborate together with other students. This is also Gray Cloud Elementary, another pod in between the classes that are surrounding them where they can come out and work on projects, get interventions, or enrichments. All right, so an overview of each level and what is in this package. Overview of elementary. We'd like to make some key upgrades and improvements for aging infrastructure, such as bathrooms and cafeterias. Renovations and construction of shared learning spaces, classrooms, and additions to address student growth. The closure of Newport Elementary School for transformation to an early learning center. A new Crestview Elementary building in a central district location. We'd repurpose the current Crestview building for the alternative high school. A new Pine Hill Elementary building to be built on that same site with minimal attendance boundary changes district-wide. Our early learning. We would expand early learning programming by repurposing Newport Elementary School into an early learning center. Liberty Ridge Site 2 would also continue as an early learning center. Middle school. We also need some upgrades and improvements to our middle schools, bathrooms, cafeterias, renovations and construction to address growth in the schools where it's occurring, construction of new secured entryways. Our current middle schools increased to approximately 1,400 students each and minimal attendance boundaries at the middle school level. High school, construction of classroom additions, expansion of the cafeterias and kitchens, creation of a multi-purpose space for our online learning students, renovation of career and tech ed and science and technology engineering spaces, move the South Washington County Alternative High School to the current Crestview, site redesign at Park and Woodbury High School to improve traffic flow and increase pedestrian safety. Park High School campus will include portions of the current Crestview Elementary campus, and our current high schools would increase to 2,400 students at Park, 2,200 at Woodbury High, and 2,500 at East Ridge High School. Special education and support sites. We would construct a centrally located district service center on the new Crestview Elementary campus to consolidate support staff, community ed, enrollment services, and space for meetings and PD. We would renovate this current building, the district service center, for our next step in pathway transition students and retain the current warehouse and storage in the back. We would end those leases in the strip malls. The students would be in this building. We would renovate Central Park for use by SoWashCo Online, adult basic ed and special education. We would construct a satellite transportation space for additional school bus parking and also purchase 120 to 160 acres for land for future use. Our cost estimates, as you saw on each of the slides, for all of the elementary components, $194.9 million, early learning, $1.7 million, middle school, $58.8 million, high school, $159.6 million, special ed, $47.5, for a total of $462.5 million. At this time, Chair Van Leer, administration is requesting the approval of this 10-year facility package.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the long-range facility plan as presented?
So moved.
Moved. Katie or Louise? Louise. Can I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Louise and seconded by Katie. This has been a very comprehensive process over the course of 4 years. We have had the opportunity to ask questions and get collaboration and clarification throughout this process. This evening, administration is requesting approval of the 10-year facility plan. Do board members have final comments? Comments only, not questions, before we vote? Okay. We are going to vote now on the long-range facility plan as presented. All those in favor? Notify by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
We have 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Motion carries. Next is 8.2, approval. Did I forget something? Okay. And next is 8.2. Calling a special election presented by Dan Pine, Director of Finance and Operations.
Good evening, Chair Van Leer, members of the school board, Superintendent Nielsen. With the approval of the long-range facility plan, the school board has investigated the facts and does hereby find and declare that it is necessary and expedient to issue general obligation bonds, building bonds for acquisition and betterment of school sites and facilities. It's calculated the cost of this package is $462,500,000. To finance the package, bonds will need to be issued in the amount of $462,660,000.
Close the door.
The bond requirements include the cost of issuance, and that's the net of projected interest. That's why the amount is a little different than the package cost. This resolution also calls for a special election to be held on August 9th, 2022. A resolution is required by the school board. The district is also required to submit a school board approved review and comment to the Minnesota Department of Education prior to conducting a referendum election, soliciting bids, or issuing bonds for a project. Attached is the required review and comment in your board packet for the projects included in the August 9th, 2022 bond referendum. Included in the review and comment are the project details for the bond question, a narrative demonstrating the need and benefit provided for each project, and cost estimates. The attached resolution includes permission to submit the review and comment to the Minnesota Department of Education for approval. With that, I ask the board for approval of the resolution.
Thank you, Dan. Can I have a motion to approve the bond and election?
So move. Second.
It's been moved by Pat and seconded by Louise. Is there any discussion or comments? This is a resolution, so we will have a roll call vote. Yes is voting for in favor, and no is opposed. Dana?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Next is 8.3, the approval of the revised budget for 2021 and 2022, presented again this evening by Dan Pine, Director of Finance and Operations.
Good evening again. Last board meeting, or the workshop, we presented the revised budget. School districts will revise their budgets annually, some more than once. We do ours once a year. We have to account for changes in pupil counts, contracts that are settled, and other costs that change. The budget that we asked you to approve, the revised one, is included in your packet. I would point you towards the one pager that we developed many, many years ago, which actually shows all the funds on it. It shows the different accounts we have to put the dollars in, and then it shows the total expenditures and the total revenues. And the reason that we put together this one pager is that when the board approves the budget, this is the budget that's been approved, and that's when we tie back to the auditors. Things that were a little different from this budget, from the first budget we did back last year, the preliminary budget we call it, we have about a difference. We were projecting in the first budget a surplus of $1.9 million. And in this budget, and we're being conservative, but this budget shows a surplus of about $800,000. The difference really focused on a couple things. One was increase in substitute costs that was not projected originally. It was kind of a makeshift thing as we went through the year to keep our classes full of teachers and paras. And we had to shift the rates, and we had to increase the rates to keep up with all the other districts. It was a real market race for substitutes. So that increased above what we projected, about $1.2 million. And then we had our utility costs came in about $400,000 over budget, and mainly that was natural gas. And I think anybody who owns a house or paid their gas bill this year saw a huge increase in natural gas. Ours just gets multiplied many, many times. Otherwise, the other funds that we didn't really talk a lot about, but did actually quite well. Food service fund should end up with a fund balance of almost $2 million. Much of that will be used to purchase equipment that's much needed and to get us through next year. School nutrition, just a quick note, we really don't know what's happening with the federal. You know, for the last 2 years, it's been free meals for everybody and at a very high reimbursement. The reimbursement rate was the summer rate, which is very high. We worked our tails off, but we also collected lots of dollars. If we go back to our regular reimbursable rates and the regular free and reduced program, we know that our volume will go way down. So we got to, well, Wendy will give you an update at the first board meeting in June. And then also the community service fund will end up with a fund balance of about $600,000, which is a $400,000 increase over the year before, which was fantastic. With that, I would ask the board to approve the revised budget.
Thank you, Dan. Can I get a motion to approve the 21-22 revised budget? Thank you. Moved by Simi and second by Katie. Is there any discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Next is 8.4, approval of proposed policy changes, and that will be presented this evening by our Superintendent, Julie Nielsen.
Thank you. We know that we've been working on updating policies, and so this evening I am bringing back the policies that came forward at the last board meeting for a first reading as well as any public comment. I believe there are 14 policies that are in our board packets this evening. I would like to highlight, following the board workshop, just one change to wording, and that was in policy 701.2 fund balance. It was laid out by year and balance, and so the wording has now been changed to, in Roman numeral 2, The intent of this policy is that the unrestricted fund balance reach 16.6% by the end of fiscal year 2026. And then in the paragraph below, if you'll note, below the described fund balance, the district shall initiate one or more of the following measures. So it gives permission to district administration to take a look at any reductions we may need to make in order to get to that 16.6% by the end of 2026. And so this evening, I am seeking approval on the policies that you have in your board packet.
Thank you, Julie. Can I have a motion to approve the policy changes? Moved by Eric and seconded by Melinda. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next is 8.5, and that is the approval of release of probationary teachers presented this evening by Kevin Witherspoon, Director of Human Resources.
Good evening, Chair Van Leer, members of the school board, and Superintendent Nielsen. During the 21-22 school year, as in past years, we have had many exceptional teachers working for the district. It is necessary to pass a resolution to terminate the teaching contracts of a number of probationary teachers. The reason for release includes student-driven scheduling, changes in enrollment, curriculum changes, union contract transfer article language, licensure issues, and performance issues. Today, you received the non-renewal letters in a packet prior to the board meeting, letters for probationary teachers. The resolution terminates teaching contracts at the end of the 2021-22 school year with non-renewal for the 22-23 school year. And we do this annually every year for new board members. Administration recommends approval of this resolution.
Thank you, Kevin. Can I get a motion to approve the releases?
So move. Second.
Motion by Pat, seconded by Louise. This is a resolution, so we will, any discussion? Okay.
Oh, Kevin, can I ask you, so with the probationary teachers, can you remind me how many of them typically return?
Oh, that's a great question. So every year is different. Last year, just to put it in perspective, we released 136, I believe, probationary teachers, and then hired back probably 86 of them. This year, we have 39 teachers that we're releasing, and we will potentially hire back some of them once our staffing is allocated.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Dana?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is 9.0, our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I know we had Dan up at the mic just minutes ago, but we would like to congratulate Dan Pine, our Director of Finance and Operations, along with our Fiscal Services Director, Chris Blackburn, and the entire finance team. They are the recipients of the Association of School Business Officials 2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report Award. And that comes to our district as a testament to the commitment and transparency and high-quality financial reporting. So I know I've heard from Dan that we would also, Dan would give the credit to his team, in particular Chris Blackburn, who leads a lot and does a lot of work with our auditors. Next, I'd like to highlight for the board and the public, Minnesota Teacher of the Year. South Washington County Schools has the best chance of having a Minnesota Teacher of the Year. We have two candidates in the running. We have Yanni Eidengeel from Park High School, who teaches social studies, and Andrea Welvert at Cottage Grove Middle School, who is in special education. So there are 11 finalists, and as someone said, we have the best chances. So I believe it is May 1st where they will do their celebration. On Monday, we will have a professional development day, and believe it or not, those are very much sought after, in particular after the gloomy spring that we've had. Teachers will be engaged in cross-district collaboration from 8 to 11 o'clock in the morning. As part of the professional development time, all of our teachers must complete a 30-minute English language training. So that is part of an expectation for all of our teachers. And then the afternoons will be spent in their schools working on building level professional development. Next, Christine and I had the opportunity to do a presentation to the Woodbury Citizens Academy, and it was a great opportunity to highlight the wonderful things from the spelling bee to the other wonderful things that are happening in the district, to talk a little bit about the growth, but really to brag on the district. And so it was very well received with a lot of great questions coming from community members. And then lastly, I had the opportunity last night to attend Iftar. And Iftar is the meal eaten by Muslims after sunset during Ramadan. Many of our students, in particular, I'll call out Woodbury High School. We had a Woodbury High School at our table. I know Simi was there as well. We had a Woodbury High School student ambassador at our table. And along with myself and others, there were city officials, law enforcement, school board members, district and school leaders, and many from within the community. And it was a wonderful opportunity to celebrate, as well to learn about Ramadan and Iftar and the celebration that many of our students are part of.
Thank you. Okay, with that is 10.0, our future meeting dates. We have a school board workshop on May 5th, 2022 at the District Service Center at 6:30 p.m. And we have a school board meeting on May 19th, 2022 at the District Service Center at 6:30 p.m. With that, 11.0, we are adjourned.